Okay, great. All right, so here we are. We're back. How you doing, Becky?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. And before we get started, we're going to talk today. We already did another one of these, and this is basically how to choose the best and most trustworthy house cleaner to clean your home at the lowest possible price. And so, if you missed the last interview, we talked about gathering intelligence. How to find out which companies to even bother with contacting and how to check up on them a bit. So you can go watch that other video if you want to see that. And today, we're going to talk about creating a plan and for getting a job well done. But before we do, if you want to learn more about how to find a great house cleaner, go to integrityhousecleaning.com, and you'll find a lot of information there. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you the first question, Becky. So first, when we talk about creating a plan, what's the first thing we have to do? We have to somehow determine the scope of work. What does that mean, and how would you do that?
Um, well, obviously, I would. Well, I guess maybe it's not obvious, but I would. It's my preference to go to the client's house. So basically, a meet and greet is the next thing. And that's not necessarily that they're hiring us. That's that we're seeing if we're going to be a good fit for them, because we might not be, a good fit for everybody, and it has to mesh. So going to their house and doing a walkthrough, seeing how they live, seeing, that type of stuff.
So you actually have to kind of like each other.
Yeah, it does work that way. At least in my opinion, if you're going to do something for someone, you kind of need to know them. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're going to be in their home
Yeah,
or their place of business. So
yeah.
that's important. Now, what kind of, when we talk about determining the scope of work, that also includes what you're going to do. So how do you figure out, does the customer just have to know and they just have to tell you, here's what I want done? Or do you kind of help them figure out what has to be done?
Well, that's something that I always, and I do this even with my recurring clients that I've been cleaning for years. I'll ask them, when I'm checking in to make sure, I can't remember the word, when I'm calling to confirm their appointment, I will say, don't forget, if you want to leave us a list of things that you want us to touch on specifically this month or whatever, don't hesitate, or you can shoot me a text and let me know, the front bathroom needs extra attention, whatever. So for the new client who is shopping around, when you're talking with the company or me or whatever, ask a couple procedure type questions. What would you do in this room? How are you going to do this? What are you going to use to clean my fan? That type of stuff.
Oh, great. So
Yeah.
you're encouraging, like if I'm curious and I haven't hired anybody before,
Yeah.
you're encouraging me to ask questions that are pretty detailed.
Yep. Oh yeah. The
Okay.
more detailed, the clearer it's going to be, and there's no them coming home after a cleaning going, but I thought they were going to do da 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 da, and they did, or clean all the windows. They didn't touch any of the windows. Well, obviously miscommunication, because we're not going to just not do the windows if we know that's what they wanted.
Right. And are some companies, maybe some of the bigger companies, do they have just sort of a certain system and they always do the same thing every time?
Yeah.
And they might not clean everything, right?
Right. Right. And that is kind of determined by what kind of clean we're doing. If we're doing a maintenance clean, then we're not going to get inside your oven. We're not going to take everything out of your fridge and clean your inside of your fridge. We're going to make sure that the fronts of everything look good and countertops are clean, floors are clean. There's no obvious dust on lamps and shades and all of that stuff. A deep clean, on the other hand, is going to be getting into those things a little deeper.
So there is a big difference there. What are some of the common areas that might not get cleaned? Like, let's say you're just with a big cleaning company that's kind of impersonal. and you're just doing maintenance clean, they probably skip a lot of stuff. You mentioned the ovens, but what are some other things that they might not clean?
Well, they wouldn't probably. Are you meaning for a maintenance clean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they wouldn't necessarily do. I know this is simple, but they wouldn't necessarily do a ceiling fan because it takes extra work. You know, you have to bring in an extra supply tool
Mhm.
so that you can reach it. Just that alone. Um, Anything that would require extra um, equipment or tools, not just the standard cleaners and scrubbers and stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next idea. So the first checkpoint is to determine the scope of work. I think we talked about that enough. The next one is determining the price. So how do you do that? And what's the way that we figure out how much to pay or charge or whatever?
I am simple. I'm not a numbers girl. I don't do square footage. I don't even do, I'll ask the client the square footage of their house, but only so that I can estimate how early. And the reason I want to do that isn't so that they can take their time and just lollygag along. I want them to be efficient and not skip steps. Whereas if you're paying your employees per house, they want to get as many houses in one day as they can. And so they'll go fast and skip stuff. And, I won't do the windowsill. I won't do the backsplash. I'll just get in, get out, and go to the next house. That's how I'm going to get the most money. Where if I'm paying them hourly, they don't need to rush.
I think that's a really good point. I have always in my life, and also as a business owner, I've had mixed feelings about hourly pay, either being paid hourly or paying hourly, because there's always the other point of view, which is, well, person's going to take it slow, as long as they can. However, you're pointing out the other side of it, which is in this situation, assuming which you do a good job of hiring, and you make sure that they're also focused on making the client happy and
Right.
making it doing a good quality job. Well, then hourly could be an advantage because
Right.
they don't have to, like you said, they don't have to rush, and they don't
Right.
have to try to, hurry through a job and do a bad. And with cleaning, you kind of need to be thorough, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the truth. You don't want them just to get the dust off of the scum. You want the scum gone.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So what are some average prices that are out there, and what do you charge?
Um, as far as average pricing, if it's per house or square footage and all that stuff, those companies, I don't even know where to begin with that. It doesn't make sense in my brain. As far as we go, we charge at the rate of $45 an hour. And to me, I sincerely feel that that is not my money, that I'm spending their money. And I better spend it the way they want it spent. If they want their bathrooms done and I don't do that and they pay me, they're not paying for what they want. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Plus, you're
Mhm.
supplying the cleaning equipment too,
Yeah.
and all of the products, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We're willing to use stuff that the clients like. Say they have a toddler and they want to use vinegar on the floor instead of the cleaner that we use. We're totally fine with that. We'll use it. They need to supply it, and we can't guarantee it because it's not something that we use on a regular basis. But we're more than happy to do it.
Hmm. Excellent.
Actually, I had one client that was the case.
Great. Okay, so I think we covered that. Let's move on to the next point, the next checkpoint toward this milestone of creating a plan. This one is discussing the specifics of the project and asking questions about quality standards. Now, you kind of talked about that a little bit, but let's go deeper in it. Like what are specifics that are important to talk about when the project first starts, and what are the quality standards?
Well, that's kind of a hard question. When I go meet a client, I'm not just meeting a client, I'm meeting their whole family. I'm meeting everybody. They might not be home, but I'm still learning about them. I had one client tell me she got rid of her last housekeepers because her husband came home and ran his hand on the kitchen counter and said, "It's still dirty." Like he could feel the grime on it. I mean, it's just that type of stuff. So quality control is really paying attention to each client. And I always send, I enjoy your clean house this afternoon. Let me know if anything isn't done well or done to your liking. We'll come fix it. So I think just paying attention to the customer and taking note of those things.
That's great. And are there, other things that, like, when you walk into somebody's house, do you ever suggest that they do it a certain way? Like you say, well, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this, or do you really ask them just what they want cleaned in terms of the priority?
Um, they typically give me a rough estimate, or like I always tell the clients, you live in your house. I don't. I'm going to see your house completely different than you do. So that's where the lists come in. And I'm adamant, like, please make us a list. You sit in this chair over here and you look out that window over there. You're going to see that window. Maybe I won't see that window because I'm not going to sit in that chair. So that window I might not get done. And then you come home and it's Friday afternoon and you go, but my window, they didn't get my window. It would be heartbreaking, right? You're like, oh, now I need to do this. But so that's like, it's silly. It's the silly little things that are crucial.
And I think one point you mentioned that some people actually want to clean their own home, where they feel maybe guilty, and they feel obligated to, but they don't want to have to do it all, or they need help getting started.
Right.
Tell me more about that. What's that situation like?
I've had clients that they ask, can we just come and do just the bathrooms? Can we just do the bathrooms? Can we just do the kitchen? Can those types of things? Can we just do the wet rooms and then they will clean the rest of their house? I don't have trouble keeping up on the dusting. I don't have trouble with the vacuuming. It's the oven and the dishwasher and the refrigerator and up around the sink and all that stuff. It overwhelms me. And we're more than happy to do that. We can also break homes up for a budget conscious family where we go twice a month. And the first time we're focusing on getting all the showers done, or something kind of equal. That doesn't really balance, but we are more than happy to do it. It's basically, if the client wants us to do it, we'll do it.
Awesome.
It's really true. We don't make beds, but I had a client ask, will you make our bed? And I'm sure, I'm fine with that. So it's basically whatever they want.
And the last checkpoint for us is how to determine the frequency. How do you do that? How do you determine how many times a week, month, quarter, year that you're going to actually clean their home or business?
Right. Two things are going to go into play here. How long we're there each time, each visit, and how big the home is, and if they're on a budget, that type of thing. We're not going to be able to do a whole 4,000 square foot home in 2 hours. It's just not possible. So remind me what the question was.
How do you figure out how often to clean?
Right. So it's just like trial and error. And how many pets you have, how dirty it gets, how quickly it gets dirty. If you live on a gravel road where the guy at the other end of the road has a semi truck and he's coming home and going and coming home, creating all this dust, your house is going to get way dirtier than if you live in a development, just dust alone. If you heat with wood, it's going to be dustier. Just those types of things are going to create more time. So I can give a guesstimate at first, and we stick to that time. We can see how much we get done, and then go from there. If we need to bump it up another couple of hours, for an hour for each girl, then we will for the next visit. Most people like monthly. We've got a couple every third week. I've got a smaller house that we go to every week, but it's very small, and she has quite a few animals, and her husband is the landscaper, so there's a lot of dirt going on.
It sounds like you have to be, in fact, this is the theme of this entire interview today. It sounds like a lot of things have to be custom. You have to individualize, customize. There's an old word, English word, bespoke, which was what a tailor does, where a bespoke suit was basically something that was totally tailored, customized to that individual person. And that sounds like what you have to do. You have to customize it.
And that's going to be, that's always going to be a little extra, cost-wise, but in the long run, you're getting what you want. And not only that, you have people that you trust to come in over and over and over again and get it done the way that you would get it done. I have one client, her shower door is just, I feel her pain because my shower door is the same way. I cannot get it clear. But we've gotten to a point over the weeks, or she's a monthly, so I try every month. Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this? How does this look? I figured out this secret. This is how to do it, but it's going to cost way too much money. So I give her the secret, and she's more than willing to do it, But it is custom. Every house is custom, and how could it not be? Everybody's house is different.
No. I think that was a perfect ending to this. So thank you so much for taking the time with me today and answering all those questions. I think we covered it. That's awesome. And I think next time we're going to do one on that actual meet and greet process of, getting to know your cleaner and making sure you get off on the right foot. But in the meantime, what's a good way to get a hold of you if people have questions?
Just call the business line. You think I would know it off the top of my head. Jesse, you have it.
I will dig it up. I know we have a phone number. It's 425-359-4347. That's 425-359-4347. Or just go to integrityhousecleaning.com. And, by the way, we should mention this because the company right now, because of the, all these challenging times we're going through right now and everybody's kind of on lockdown, we have a waiting list. So if you're interested in this, you just go to the website, integrityhousecleaning.com, and you join the newsletter, and that'll put you on our email list so we can let people know when we're ready for that. So maybe that's a good way to do it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Leave me a message. Always leave me a message.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. And anything else you want to add?
We're excited to get back to work. I know that sounds silly. I mean, who's excited to go clean? But it's so much more to me. I get to take care of people in a way that not a lot of people can.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Becky. You have a great day.
Thanks, Jesse.